board, then we'll take up the items in order. They've been broken up just because that's the way it needs to be, but they all relate to Sherbeck Field. So I will declare open the public hearing regarding the Sherbeck Field improvements project. I will go through the parts for speakers in order. But first, I believe, Dr. Schultz, there's a couple things you wanted to remind us from the presentation before, just to be sure that everybody's starting from the same information.
Thank you, Board President Brown and Board of Trustees. I'm happy to be here with Rachel Strulia. We'll do that. And yeah, what we wanted to do is share. There we go. Thank you. Is that better? Okay.
If you cannot hear in back, raise your hand.
Is the volume okay?
I think the volume's better back there than it is up here.
Okay. So what
Project for us.
we'll do. I'll use my teacher voice. There you go. Okay. So what Rachel and I wanted to do is briefly just share some of the highlights from the previous board meeting presentation. And I'll begin. It's just a few short slides. First, to review the project objectives. So those include providing a field for Fullerton College football that meets the 3C2A and NCAA requirements, provides field lighting, provides an opportunity for evening classes, provides a press box and storage, and involves the installation of permanent bleachers, which can also reduce the rentals for commencement.
Thank you again, Rachel Strulia from DADEC, assisting staff and the college with preparation of the CEQA document. I just want to go over some of the findings and make a couple other points as well. Most of the findings fell in the no impact or less than significant impact column. Then there were a few that were less than significant with mitigation. And lastly, we had noise, recreation, and traffic that were significant and unavoidable. We've heard a lot tonight, folks saying that administrations change and commitments won't be held, but I did want to make the point for the record that the commitments that you're going to hear tonight and in the mitigation monitoring and reporting program are requirements that the district is putting upon themselves for Sherbeck Field. So they won't change with administration to administration. They are requirements per CEQA. Lastly, I did want to mention that there was a late comment letter that came in this afternoon, and it made some comments about parking that we wanted to address in the record as well. So I'm going to call Dan Close from LLG up to address those parking impacts.
Okay, good evening. Dan Close, Associate Principal of Linscott Law and Greenspan Engineers. So as Rachel indicated, there was a late comment regarding parking during a field event. So just to fill the board in, we did conduct parking observations at the campus back in on May 19, 2018. And we basically observed the parking demand at the various lots that are closest to the field, being the Lemon parking structure, and also lots 3, 4, 5, and 6. So those are all closest to the field. During our parking observations, there was an existing demand at 11:30 a.m. on a Saturday of 291 spaces. And then we also did another count at 12:30 p.m. and there was an existing demand of 220 spaces. Of those lots, there's an existing parking supply of 2,398 spaces amongst the Lemon structure and lots 3, 4, 5, and 6. Based on an average vehicle occupancy of 2.25 people per vehicle, a 4,417 seat stadium capacity would result in a parking demand of 1,964 spaces. And again, that assumes a full capacity event with every seat filled. And when you combine that existing demand of 291 spaces with the 1964, you get a combined demand of 2,255 spaces. And when you compare that to the parking supply amongst those lots of 2,398, that results in a parking surplus of 143 spaces, again, even with a full capacity event at the field.
finally, I wanted to share again project commitments. So in communication and discussion with members of the community, the college and district made the following commitments as part of the EIR. First, no Fullerton College football games will be played on Friday evening at Sherbeck Field. No high school football games will be played at Sherbeck Field. No field lighting for any outside groups on Saturday or Sunday. No rentals for musical performances or concerts by any outside groups. Outside groups using the field are prohibited from using any public address or sound amplification systems, and the speaker system would not exceed 91 dBA on the field in any events. All right. So college staff, as well as our team of experts and engineers, will be happy to address any questions that the board may have, perhaps after the public comments. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go into the public comments. I will just go through the cards in order. The same time limitations apply, 3 minutes per speaker. First speaker will be Ben Vega, followed by Bob Jensen.
My name is Ben Vega, and I'm here to support lights and seating on the Sherbeck Field. I'm familiar with concerns of local residents. Are you aware that some of the organizers do not even live in Fullerton? As Trustee Lopez brought up last week, athletic fields are classrooms, and this has been appealed to the government 2 times and as solid as a rock. Lights make classrooms safer for the environment, students, and the faculty and residents. It was also brought up last meeting that it's hard to pull out and make turns at Berkeley and Brookdale, and the field would make it worse. Lights at night make it easier to see when driving, not to mention, this should be brought up at the Fullerton City Council, not here, speak to the city of Fullerton. I was shocked to hear last week that FC was playing football games not on an NCAA regulated field. Fullerton should play games on site. High school football fields are not NCAA approved. Fullerton College would only play 5 home games a year. 400 attended last Saturday's game. May I remind you that on any given day or night, more traffic comes in and out of the school than at any football game. Traffic, if you want to back up traffic, send 100 football players, coaches, trainers, and equipment across the street to Fullerton High School for 5 hours. I can assure you that to the local residents, this will do the trick. Sherbeck Lights would not break any Fullerton ordinance. Sherbeck's field lights would not break any Fullerton ordinance. The EIR group last week said that construction, they recommended an 8-foot wall to keep down the noise during construction. Make the wall 25 to 30 feet and have the Fullerton College Art Department make the sign of recycled material. Fullerton High School Future Farmers of America program is at Fullerton College. Goats, sheep, and other animals are on Fullerton College campus. Take a moment and think what local residents would say if you tried to put a program like that on campus today, the smell, the noise, etc. 2 EIR reports wouldn't be enough. Has anybody ever complained about that program? I think not. At this time, Sherbeck Field will go unnoticed with time. This makes fiscal sense. You have entrusted Fullerton College to President Schultz with his management of the school. Look at the amazing numbers you've done with graduation. I hope the needs of the students, 18 to 80, and the administration are surely considered when making the decision for lights and seating on Sherbeck Field. Trust the FC administrators to manage the school properly. They always have. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. President. May I clarify one point? Last time I asked whether we had a legal opinion on whether the field is a classroom.
Yeah, I'm just saying you brought it up.
Thank you. Bob Jensen, followed by Anya McCrory.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for a marathon meeting and the patience that's required to hear all of us, including all the audience members as well. It's my privilege to be here tonight to speak on behalf of improvements to Sherbeck Field. And yet I say so also with respect to the neighbors. And I mentioned the last time I was here that some of them are my friends. I don't know after tonight if they remain my friends, but it's my hope that they would understand that I really want the college to be a good neighbor and to hear the neighbor. And I hear the neighbors and their complaints, and I think it's disingenuous to suggest that communication hasn't been first rate. There's been so many opportunities to meet with our president, so many opportunities to voice their complaints. And as you read the EIR, which I've now read 3 times, it's replete with examples of responses to neighborhood complaints. Whether it completely satisfies the neighbors is really up to them to share with you tonight, but I think an awesome job has been done to listen to the neighbors and make adjustments. Some people have suggested that we should focus college monies on other priorities, but the answer to that is the college and the district have vigorously embraced what's called a vision for success. Number 1 among 114 community colleges and transfers to Cal State system. Measure X permitted great strides forward in STEM education, the construction of new facilities for science, an upgrade to the tech engineering building, in addition to new social sciences hall, a current state-of-the-arts library which draws 6,000 to 7,000 visits per week, and a campus commons that houses the dining hall, student government, symposiums, and just wonderful workshops as well. Place hosts to our community again and again for special events. As I mentioned, Measure J will provide for some new facilities for humanities and performing arts, a new parking garage west of Sherbeck Field in the interior of the campus. With the help of the district, Fullerton College is embracing what it calls its vision of success, with all the emphasis upon a student population of 23,000. Building for the future, that's what this is about. I've been proud to be affiliated with the college, even in retirement. I'm proud of the proposal and the president and the planners and what they have done. You saw all the restrictions that are being placed upon it. You know that classes are happening Monday through Thursday night there, so you can fully understand how the impact has been reduced in a very careful way. And I think we continue to listen to the neighbors, and as we heard tonight from Mr. Johnson, it's so important they understand the promises that are being made tonight. And I hope you see it in your heart and your mind to vote in favor of this proposal. Thank you.
Patty McCrory, followed by Mary Frances Giebel.
Good evening. My name is Tanya McCrory. Clay Getchie couldn't be here tonight, but he asked me to read this letter. I think the trustees will appreciate that I'm using Clay words and not my own, because he's much more measured than I am. So here it is. A lot of people are talking tonight. Some are for the stadium, some against. All of them are passionate. Most of it you've heard before. You know the reasons the football team and the college want this. And you also know that it's more than they need. On the other side, you've heard the neighbors talk about the effects. You're in a tough position. You believe you've listened to the neighbors with the changes made to the EIR, yet some still feel there is further to go. All of the arguments about how little Sherbeck Field will be used undercuts both sides, the effects and the justification. Tonight, you could check the box and say that you've addressed the neighbors and that you're done listening. But that doesn't strike me as the kind of trustees that you are. You're looking to lead everybody to the right solution. The college's presentation last month provides a path to that solution, where you can give everybody what they need and nearly all of what they want, whether they know it or not. The lighting expert said a much lower light setting can be used to illuminate the track for classes. Add a policy into the EIR that lights for evening classes will be at 25% game level. That would mean almost nothing to the college, but it would be huge for the community. And if late class doesn't have a minimum enrollment of 25 or 30 students, cancel the class. Fullerton College has openings in dozens of other classes at all times to accommodate these students. Again, a big win for the community and virtually no cost to the college. As you try to lead everybody to the right solution, consider one more possibility. Consider very seriously lowering the seating to 2,000. Mr. Garcia correctly said that we build for the future. The football team recently won a national championship, yet even at its peak of popularity, the stands would be 98% empty. 2,000 seats builds for decades into the future. And what about commencement? Bleachers and seat rentals would be required by either size. It's just a matter of degree. The cost saving from smaller seating would more than offset this, not just in maintenance, cleaning, repairs, and construction, but in shorter light poles closer to the field with lower wattage, and in a sound system sized for smaller capacity. Individually as trustees and as a board, you have shown the ability to see through the statements and the rhetoric on both sides. Continue that leadership through to the end. Add in additional parameters and seriously consider the more reasonable seating. Everyone will thank you. And I just want to say that we have never as a community been opposed to improvements on Sherbeck Field, and I feel like we've been misrepresented in that way. I feel if the college had spoken to us, they would know that. We would like to see home games, and we want to see improvements. Thank you very much.
Mary Frances Gable, followed by Marcia Foster.
I am Mary Frances Gable. I live at 637 Princeton Circle West. So after years and years of bringing you substantive reasons why the stadium project should not be built, I was thinking, what can I say? Should I point to the number of people who do not want this stadium, 570 plus 480 neighboring homes, our city council, our assemblywoman, our state senator? Should I say that you've won numerous championships without a stadium? Should I say the $6 million could be better spent elsewhere, like raises for your teachers, or by providing for homeless students, or providing for more core classes in order to eliminate wait lists and reduce numbers of units to degree students to get their AA, or help reduce the equity gap for underrepresented student groups, or for more career tech education? Or should I ask the question, why does FC need 60,000 watts of stadium lighting? After all, Fullerton College says football team doesn't even play at night. Fullerton Joint Unified High School District could accommodate a night game in extenuating circumstances like excessive heat. And they've indicated in writing that they're willing to share their stadium. Night classes only require low-level lighting, not 60,000 watts of LED lighting on 120-foot or 100-foot poles. Low-level lighting has been sufficient for 45 years. Commencement isn't held at night. FC promises that no outside groups will use the field lighting on Saturday and Sunday, and no high school or football will be played on Sherbeck Field. All of your project objectives can be met without stadium lighting, so why have it? Track and cross country, all those guys, they don't run at night. So why do you want this brutal LED light? I don't know if you've ever driven down the road and seen in your rearview mirror the new LED lights in some car behind you. I can hardly stand that. And that woman back there said that too. All right, so, but then I thought they're never gonna listen to anything I say anyway. And several people told me they don't listen to me, Mary Frances, give up. But I thought, no. No, these board members are human beings. They have homes, they have families, they have parents, they have children, they have friends. They can understand the universal concept of doing to others what they would want done to them. You have the power to do what is right. So please vote no on this project the way it is. You can achieve your project objectives without these lights, number one. If you're going to vote for this, irregardless of our concerns, please eliminate that stadium lighting. That's why we call it stadium primarily. It's stadium lighting and stadium noise. 91 decibels is like a lawnmower.
Time's up. Thank you.
Okay, the city
Time's up.
limit
Thank you.
is 55.
Time's up, thank you.
Good evening, Marcia Foster, women's basketball coach, faculty, Fullerton College. Our job as instructors and coaches is to educate our students, and sports has and always will be the vehicle that stands in the front and paves the way for change. I want to explain why it's so important to have a community on campus that exists because of football. I have a really good friend of mine. He has a 13-year-old daughter. They drove by Yorba Linda Stadium and she saw that there was a game. She's a basketball player, but she's a sports fan. And so she asked if they could go to the game. He said, sure. They went home, they got some lunch, they came back to the game. Okay. I'm probably going to make a few people uncomfortable, and that's okay. All I ask is that you open your hearts. My friend doesn't look like me. I'm older, I'm black, I'm a lesbian. He's a bit younger and white, a longtime resident of this county, a Cal State Fullerton grad, a local businessman, and a proud husband and father of 3 daughters, 2 in college and 1 in middle school. We share the love of sports, of people, and the gifts that it brings to the people who participate in it and the people who love to be a part of it. We spend hours talking, and the conversation is about sports for a fraction of the time. See, our common love of sports has brought us together, and it gave us the opportunity to explore life, all of it, in all of its complexities. We talk about tough things. We talk about race. We talk about sexuality. We talk about religion. Our differences become shallow and unimportant when we spend time together. What's common is our respect and admiration for the people we are working on becoming in this life. I'm not going to pretend that sports are all pure and good, mythical and perfect. They are not. When they are done right, though, they bring people together. Some of you don't know many people that look like you, and that scares some of you. It makes some of you uncomfortable. Or maybe you have a black friend where you share that little joke like, oh, I didn't know you were black. You're black. I want to let people know that when I have the time and space, it isn't funny to me. We should see the differences on the outside because that's what makes us unique. But what makes us bond together are the things that we share on the inside. That we care that our children are safe. That we care that we have a chance to do our best in this world. Those are the things that are important. Sports may not be perfect, and having Fullerton College, having a stadium at Fullerton College may frighten some people because of some that don't look like them or the things that can come into the community. But I want to tell you that we have a chance to bring us together, to bring all kinds of people together. And that's our job as educators. And at Fullerton College, with a football team on campus and that atmosphere, we can do so.
Gina Bivick, followed by George Stevens.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Gina Babick. I'm a full-time professor of physical education, head track and cross-country coach at Fullerton College. My belief is that each of you will make the right decision this evening with my classroom, as known as Sherbeck Field. I understand you're committed to the value of intercollegiate athletics and the educational experience of students. The intercollegiate athletic programs are aligned with the district and college's missions and contribute to the social and cultural dimensions of the educational experience of students. The standard of integrity along with a sound educational policy are the board's policy. With the completion of this facility, our students' experiences will continue to grow and student learning outcomes can be achieved on our campus. Our previous mission statement says we prepare students to become better learners. Our new mission statement says Fullerton College advances student learning and achievement by developing flexible pathways for students. We foster a supportive and inclusive environment for students to be successful learners, responsible leaders, and engaged community leaders. You are the responsible leaders to make it right tonight. In order for me as a professor, I need my classroom complete to help with this mission statement. A safe classroom includes seats and lighting for the safety of our students and help with achieving student learning outcomes and assessments. I ask you to put the classroom back at Sherbeck Field the way it was originally with seats and lighting. It's not right that every Fullerton College intercollegiate athletic team has a home court advantage with the exception of 2 teams. The student athletes that are greatly affected by this are students of PE 207 and PE 215, which is football and track and field. Our vision is to transform lives and inspire positive change in the world. A few of our values include our community to enhance the well-being of our campus and surrounding areas. We need lights for the protection and care of our students. We continue to grow in student numbers, and with that increase in numbers, there needs to be supportive innovation in teaching and learning. Our integrity, your integrity, acts in accordance on a personal level and high ethical standards. This has been a partnership from the beginning. We asked our community to say yes to Measure X. It is up to you to say yes to the completion of Sherbeck Field. We all strive to be responsible parties for the betterment of the world around us. Fullerton College needs to continue to build upon our tradition of excellence. Let it be a tradition of excellence tonight that each of you will have the right answer for Sherbeck Field facility. Thank you for your time.
George Stevens, followed by Ken Bain.
My name is George Stevens, and I am a Fullerton Hornet. I also grew up with the Sherbeck family. I hear a lot of things about Coach Sherbeck. I called him Mr. Sherbeck because I was his son's friend, and in his household, you always called him Mr. Sherbeck. I am speaking in favor of the stadium options that have been presented to this board, namely the shared use of Fullerton High School Stadium. I'm saddened that we find ourselves in this position. I'm sad because I fear the future students of Fullerton College will be paying the price for our actions regarding the building of the stadium at Fullerton College. As you know, years back, a bond issue for a veterans facility at Fullerton College barely passed. I am told that with tens of thousands of potential voters, this bond issue passed by a mere 15 votes. And that's for a facility for veterans. As the city and residents of Fullerton have voiced their displeasure with this proposed stadium and have asked this college board to consider viable options, the college board has continued to move forward with the stadium plans. But at what cost? As the college board continues to alienate both city and residents of Fullerton, I fear that any future bond issues brought forth to benefit Fullerton College will be defeated, and that thousands of students that could benefit from these future bond issues will be the real victims. Thank you for your time.
Ken Bain, followed by Laura Richard Rock.
Good evening. My name is Ken Bain. I live about a half a mile from the project. And I'd like to thank you in advance for your thoughtful attention to what I'm going to say tonight. You know, Jesus, on his Sermon on the Mount, is famously and widely credited for what we know today as the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's another way of saying that. If you don't want to get hurt, don't hurt other people. Did you realize that a form of the Golden Rule exists in every culture that we know about on the earth? Tonight, I need to urge you to act responsibly, and in your leadership, come to a decision based on reason and thoughtful problem solving. A decision that supports the district's strategic planning objectives while balancing the district's fundamental responsibility to do no harm. This project is problematic, to say the least. On first glance, putting aside the impacts for a moment kind of makes sense, right? Save money, have a home field, have more athletic classroom space. But when you peel the layers back, Sherbeck Field can already accommodate football games without lighting or a sound system or bleacher. There's no need for additional classroom facilities until 2030. The district's own planning document states this. And there's absolutely no cost savings whatsoever. That's a fallacy. Right? Then there's the fallout of losing trust among the community and the very real specter of costly and time-consuming legal action. Please consider the ability to float a future bond will be absolutely thrown into question. The EIR will be challenged and the project tied up for years in court and appeals. The district's ability to exempt itself from local review has not been settled by the courts. Therefore, the city of Fullerton, which adopted a resolution encouraging this body to share the stadium at Fullerton High School, which was ignored out of hand, no response, could very well sue to gain control. There's no stated need that can't be more effectively accomplished by sharing the high school stadium. And then last, but probably most important, there's the issue of gender discrimination and inequality happening today in the Fullerton College Athletic Department. According to an analysis by counsel at the nonprofit California Women's Law Center, Fullerton College serves 152 more male athletes than female athletes. It's an 18% gap, and the federal government considers it severe. right? Gender equality lies at the heart of our democracy and indeed the district's own strategic planning objectives. I don't have to stand here in 2019 and tell you that it's harmful and wrong to discriminate against women athletes. And since there's no need for additional classroom space, the only conclusion that we can make is that this project will spend $6 million and untold maintenance fees to benefit 91 male football players. In what universe is it okay to spend $6 million to make an already embarrassing situation far worse? How would you explain your inaction to your female students, your daughters, your granddaughters, and great-granddaughters? Look at the students who came to support the project today. They were all male, not one female athlete came here. Please don't support, please do not support gender discrimination. Please abide by the golden rule.
Laura Richard Barrage, followed by Craig Sherman.
Hi, I'm Laura Richard Barish. I live west of the college, and I'm also speaking not only on my behalf, but on behalf of my mother, Ann Terrell Richard, who lives just east of the college on Yale Avenue. My grandparents were original owners in the neighborhood. They bought the house in 1951. 3 generations have lived in that house. And to make a point to somebody earlier in the evening, there wasn't a stadium when they bought the house, and there wasn't plans for future stadium there when they bought the house. In addition to having 3 generations live in that house so close to Fullerton College, we've also had 3 generations of community college students that have at least taken part of their education at the community college level before moving on to a 4-year college. In that, we've always been supportive of Fullerton College, and we feel strongly about continuing your education after high school, and Fullerton College provides that opportunity to many students. Our support has been not only in voting in support of bonds and measures, but also in just being a good neighbor. I remember when my grandmother was alive, she would say, oh, well, it's not a big deal, they're parking in front of our house, it's just good they're getting an education. Now, our family does oppose the current improvements that are proposed for Sherbeck Field based on 3 things. One is exacerbation of existing issues with traffic, parking, noise, trash, and then additionally the existence of the lights and the negative impact that will have on the surrounding homes, and having bright lights at night and how that impacts sleep and health of the neighbors. And then finally, we're also concerned because it is a big expenditure for a small portion of your student body. It's wonderful, like the athletic programs, the success of the athletes at Fullerton College. We're proud of that. You've had a successful program without a stadium. We think that that money should be spent to
Thank you very much.
otherwise.
Sherman, followed by Philip Austin.
Thank you, members of the board. My name is Craig Sherman. I'm an attorney. I've been retained by the Neighborhood Council to assist with the evaluation of the EIR and some of the legal issues and the impacts related to the proposed project. It's a large group that's representative of my client, many hundreds of people in relation to the impacts of the project. It's a pretty immense neighborhood. And to the extent that there's sort of been a misconception that, well, you live next to a field, what do you expect? Well, our law fortunately protects against impacts to our homes and neighborhoods and communities. That's what CEQA is all about. And you're required to analyze it, you're required to mitigate it. And even if you're next to a field, if there's reasonable use and enjoyment of your home, if you can't sleep at night, these are the things that the law protects against. So I urge you to think about the impacts and call them NIMBYs, call people complainers that they moved to the wrong neighborhood, they can make choices. But that's not the way it works, that's not the way the law protects. And these people have been here a long time and they have these rights. With that said, you received my comment letter submitted earlier this afternoon. There's been some reference to it. I'll submit a hard copy to Secretary. There's also been a number of comments from people affected in the community by trash, by parking, by the impacts of when the spillover in these activities from the development of a stadium and a nighttime use stadium and a daytime use stadium. So reference these 9 letters. I'll make sure these are submitted as well as my comment letter. But the importance to these factors are the impacts that are unmitigated. The issue of parking is something that needs to be analyzed by CEQA. We raised it in our letter. There was a comment by the gentleman from the traffic observations. The issue is that the environmental impact report didn't disclose them. It said we don't need to study parking. Conclusion, we're not going to study parking. So the point is it's not addressed in the EIR. People couldn't reasonably address it. It was passed over. That said, raising it for the first time requires recirculation of the EIR, so people, that analysis doesn't suffice to cover all bases for the parking issues because it wasn't analyzed in the EIR and you said so. I covered in my comment letter the nighttime events, trash, litter, the alternatives, those defects. So what we urge is, with the multiple infirmities with the final EIR, the unsupportable findings and overriding considerations, that you would deny the project. At a minimum, you need to go back, restudy. There's things that can be reanalyzed, further avoidance and mitigation that the law requires. So with that said, urge you to deny the project. You need to go back to the drawing board. There's alternatives and ways to avoid the impacts, a small number of people that it affects, and encourage you to vote no, or at least impact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can't hear him.
Philip Austin, followed by Yolanda Derone. Philip Austin here? No Philip Austin? Okay. Yolanda Derone. And we're followed by Yvonne Dillon.
Hi everybody, I'm Yolanda Derone. I'm a full-time faculty member in the physical education department, and I'm also the men's and women's tennis coach here at Fullerton College. I'm also a resident of Fullerton, and I thoroughly enjoy being able to hang out at Fullerton College outside of just my working hours. I'm here to extend my support for the Sherbeck Field. As you all know, I just said, I'm the men's and women's tennis coach as well as a professor. I'm also a resident of the city of Fullerton, and I really enjoy living here. I really believe that adding the improvements will add more value to the properties along the area and improve what our city has to offer for all of its residents. I will say that the Fullerton College tennis courts are open to the public, while other schools in our area are not. And many great tennis players use our own facilities to grow their game. These players have gone on to play at Oregon, to Yale, to Cal State Fullerton, to Fullerton College. Adding improvements to the Sherbeck Field will add even more improvements to our community, as it gives us one more opportunity to be healthy individuals. More of our community can be involved in classes that will be offered and allow us to be more connected to our own college. So I just want to share my opinion as a fellow resident, and thank you.
Ron Dillon, followed by Garrett Campbell.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for your service to our community. A little background, our address since the 80s has been on Princeton Circle West. We're within a couple hundred feet, or about 100 yards from the field. We remodeled our home, our 68-year home in 2005. Hopefully it's our retirement home and our forever home. I'm a plumbing contractor serving Orange County. My wife's an educator with the Orange County Department of Education. I serve on the Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Contractors Board as a director, and on their education board where we have 130 apprentice plumbers. I'm currently sponsoring 8 of those plumbers. So our children have gone to Fullerton College. Our daughter went on to get her teaching credentials. So we're vested in this area. We believe in the college, and we thank the educators, and we support the college. We believe that the draft EIR did not adequately address the noise, traffic in our neighborhood. It only addressed it at the college level and around Berkeley. Whether it's 2,000 seat stadium or 4,000 seat stadium, the lights are going to create a problem. The traffic's going to overflow into our neighborhood as it does already. All you have to do is drive up and down Berkeley right now in our neighborhood. You'll see the trash that's left on Berkeley on a daily basis. This is only going to be amplified, especially on the weekends when there's no parking control in our neighborhood. The gentleman said that there's ample parking in the stadium and on college. If it's free, they'll use it.
Yeah.
College students don't because it costs them money. If there's an event and they have to pay for parking, they're not going to park there. They're going to overflow into our neighborhood. As a young lady said earlier today about the lights and pollution she's experiencing from the tennis courts, I mean, we're going to feel the same impact. We've walked the track. The track isn't being taken care of. There's chairs in it. There's maintenance issues. We've complained about water leaks for the last 2 months that have gone unnoticed. We didn't buy next to a college stadium. We bought next to a college and a workout track. If Fullerton Airport was to propose landing jet traffic there, they'd have the same complaints that we're having because of the noise and pollution.
Pardon? 30 seconds.
Okay, well, we just think that spending $6 million on a field for a small group of athletes, when so many teachers here tonight expressed their concerns for their wages and their health benefits, and the students that need financial aid, I just don't really think that's a good decision on your part as a board. And we hope you make the right decision and vote against the proposed improvements. Thank you.
Sir, just as a point of information, the college has committed to parking being free during the athletic events. So Garrett Campbell, followed by Nick Harmon.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. As a full-time faculty member of physical education instructor at Fullerton College, this project is critical in helping me assist my students in reaching their full potential. As a physical educator in activity classes allow me to teach specific classes at times where non-traditional students will be able to attend. As a football coach, this will allow me to continue to develop my students in the soft skills that I mentioned in the last board meeting in terms of teamwork, resilience, problem solving, etc. With that said, let me explain as a college football coach the frustrations that I have playing a contest on a high school football field. The field markings are incorrect for a college game. They don't meet the NCAA standards. It's extremely frustrating to coach our players on a field, a practice field right now that currently meets NCAA standards and then ask them to compete on a field that does not meet those standards. It's equivalent to an actor or dancer rehearsing on a 50-foot stage and then being asked that same performer to perform their live performance on a stage of only 20 feet. I'm sure they could do it, but the switch seems a little unfair. Now, as the head football coach at Fullerton College, let me explain the frustrations I had from our last contest. This past Saturday, we suited up about 85 players for our 1 p.m. home contest against El Camino College, which we won 33-7. Let me explain a few things that happened on that day. First, our team met on campus for our typical pregame meetings at about 10 a.m. At 11 a.m., we boarded 2 buses to go to Yorba Linda High School. Thankfully, the traffic was light, so it only took us 22 minutes for the entire team to arrive. On a side note, in previous seasons, we've had encountered vehicle accidents on Bass and Cherry Avenue that caused us to be late for our own pregame warm-ups at our home games. Next, when we finish the game, there are no showers at the facility for our players or opposing team. My understanding is the same is true at Fullerton High School as well. Either way, not having access to showers immediately following a college football contest could be a significant health hazard. Unfortunately, I've dealt with staph infections and specifically MRSA and other programs I was in, and it is not something to mess with. As a point of reference, on our campus, all of our students have access to showers immediately following their activity classes. Lastly, as a parent, myself, following the most disappointing part of was my game day experience, we had parents who after the game in the parking lot were wrapping up a tailgate and wanting to share their food with our players. However, I had to cut them short because the bus drivers had their own deadlines, and this wasn't the first time. We are at the mercy of a bus company and the regulations for a home contest. I think we can resolve all these issues and be good neighbors and be good partners with the community of Fullerton. Thank you very much.
Nick Arman, followed by Brian Crooks.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Nick Arman. I'm a full-time counselor and the coordinator of the Veterans Resource Center at Fullerton College. I'm here to share a story of one of my veteran students that told me a couple of years ago, which has truly resonated with me. To paraphrase, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, when I served in the Marine Corps, I had an identity and a sense of belonging. He defined identity quite eloquently, then added, but what is an identity without a home or a place to call a home? Referring to his football team, his teammates, and where they played, he said, my new unit, referring to the football team, has no home. I'm embarrassed to think that when I'm asked to describe my time on the football team at Fullerton College, I can always say that we were an undefeated homeless team. A homeless team, ladies and gentlemen. As a counselor, I am so proud to know that our students at Fullerton College lead the state and transfer to the CSU system 2 years in a row. But it would be a travesty to overshadow our student athletes who are just as much to credit for this amazing track record we have in the transfer to the CSU system. Our student athletes and PE faculty deserve a classroom to play on and to coach on, just like any other discipline across the college campus. Ladies and gentlemen, I once heard that fairness doesn't mean everyone gets the same. It means everyone gets what they need. And for the last 106 years at Fullerton College, they needed a proper classroom where our student athletes have a place to call home and to learn, a place to feel at home and a field at home that they can play on. Fullerton College's goals include but are not limited to promoting success for every student, to cultivating a culture of equity, and committing to accountability and continuous quality improvement. I trust and pray that you will make the right decision tonight and help our college work towards achieving these goals and vote yes on the Sherbeck Field Improvement Project. Thank you.
Brian Crooks, followed by Mark Pavlovich.
How are we doing tonight? Thank you for letting me talk to you guys. It's been a long night. I've coached here for 23 years. I went here in 93, 94. I played football here. I transferred on full scholarship, got my degree. Came back in 97, started coaching from there. I became full-time in 2008, and I'm the defense coordinator at Fullerton College. I've coached and played at the high school. When we were here, we played at the high school. I've coached at the high school also, playing for Fullerton College. I coached at Fullerton College, and it's not a college field. It can't be done. We've done it. We've had issues with them. Their locker rooms are not safe for college students. The walk over there is not safe for our college students. It's a high school field. And we played for the national championship in 2016 at Yorba High School, which we won. And the following year, they came out with a rule in the NOCCCD stating that playoff games and title games cannot be played on a high school field. So in 2017, we went back there for the state championship. We had to move to Whittier College and bus our college students to Whittier College to play 2 home games that we earned to have at home and had to travel to Whittier College and not have our fan base with us at our critical playoff games. And that rule still stands today. So if we do have to play at Fullerton High School, we cannot play there for playoff games. It's illegal. So we had to move somewhere else to go play our playoff games. How's that fair to our student athletes? We have to bus to every game. Okay, $3,000 probably for buses to take us front and back. Okay, we have to rent the stadium, $4,500 to rent the stadium. Add that up, that's $37,500 for 5 home games for us to pay. When we go to Fullerton High School, it's not free. We have to pay to go to Fullerton High School. And they say they keep on working with us, it's Fullerton High School, and you keep on saying we're gonna rent it out to you, we're gonna let you use our stadium. It's their stadium, not ours. We should be having our own stadium as a college, and what we do as a program. Talk about classroom. Every student that plays football is in a class called PE 207. There's a curriculum for that class, there's student learning outcomes for that class, okay? The exam they take on Saturday is the exam they take just like normal any student, like science or math. That's their exam. It's a Saturday game they play. Why can't they play on the campus? Why they want to go somewhere else? Other colleges we compete against, Mount Sac, they're building a 20,000 seat stadium right now. Saddleback, 10,000 seat stadium. Orange Coast has their stadium. Cerritos has their stadiums. Okay, that's who we compete against. That's who we recruit against. Okay, we talk about guided pathways. Okay, that guided pathways is us as athletics. Okay, we bring the colleges, we recruit the players. Okay, we help them get their classes, we help them stay on task. Okay, they go to their classes, we help them go to study hall, we help them go to writing centers to get them to transfer on. That's guided pathways. That's what we do with our athletes. And if we don't have the same to compete against these other colleges, they will take the athletes from us and we'll be at Fullerton College. Okay, I ask you in your hearts to make the right decision and build a stadium for our athletes to play on our campus. Bring the community involved and let us have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Davis, followed by Pam Lynn.
Back again. Feel like I'm here all the time. You know, 2002 we passed Measure M. 2002, and we're still today arguing over Proposition M, the bond. You know, I feel everybody who has the passion, be it the neighbors, be it our school, should be upset. Maybe not at each other. I think they should be upset at something that happened in 2002, that in 2013, we got the additional money to keep building on 22 projects, and the stadium, the field, the facilities got pushed aside. And so the arguments that come from out behind me were caused not necessarily by the group that's sitting here, but by the group before them. Instead of pushing it aside and saying, I don't want to make the neighbors mad, I don't want to make the coaches mad, I don't think I'll do anything. I'll just sit here and do nothing. And we'll push it off for another 15 years. Will bonds be affected by it? No, because Jay got passed. We know, all of us property owners, will vote for it. That's right. I pay for Proposition M on my property tax. I pay for J on my property tax. And if anybody should be offended, it should be me. You're taking my money and doing nothing with it. You're upsetting a bunch of people in this room with my money. And if you care about the students, then you should read the propositions and what they're for. It's not for giving homeless students a place to live. That's what the proposition does not say. It doesn't say let's give them food. You can't use it for that reason. It's to build facilities. And yes, a field is a facility. If you don't understand that, then go back out and walk them through all of Southern California and Northern California. And no, it just is not for male athletes, for those who think it is. There is such a Civil Rights Act called Title IX. And everybody in this room should understand Title IX. For what you do for a male athlete, you need to do it for a female athlete. If this board doesn't understand it, then go back and read it again. So the disgust in this room should not be, hey, where is it? It should be, why hasn't it happened? If you didn't want to do it, then you should have told everybody in 2002. You should have told me in 2009 when I sat there with Tim Burns and we talked about the Lost Boys at Fullerton College. Make up your mind, vote for the field, and as far as I'm concerned, it should be a yes, and we should have a field at Fullerton College.
Pamela, followed by Naveen Kernal.
Hi, thank you. Somebody asked earlier who would live by a field that has lights, and I have to say that I would because I live by Long Beach City College.
for many years, and the impact wasn't really that bad. The lighting, you couldn't really tell, and the noise wasn't very impactful, and I was right across the street from it. The neighbors are very clever. They have some clever signs. They want to be good neighbors. I think that we have been. I was here long enough at Fullerton College that I was on a phone bank for Measure X, and what we led with was building the Sherbeck Field. At that time, it was a 17,000 plus stadium field, and it has shrunk now down to 4,500. But these good neighbors aren't really like opposed to fields or stadiums in general, because the people that live east of Berkeley are okay with you impacting the people that live north of Berkeley, because they want you to have it at Fullerton High School. Right.
Yes.
So it's just, hey, don't build it in my backyard. But there were many people that voted for Measure X. And I've heard people attack the administration. Every administration since I've been at Fullerton College has had the neighborhood come over and allowed them, starting actually right after the bond was passed. And it was brought up that the EIP wasn't done correctly, and that started the whole conversation. And the conversation was basically about parking at that point, not about Sherbeck Field. So I feel like the college has been very collegial in working with the neighbors.
Never.
But what I would ask you is not to give in to the fear of losing your positions, the threats that they've made. There's never been a concert option at Fullerton College. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, they're not called. But what I would ask you to do is think about all the people that voted for Measure X and Measure J, and the fact that what we led with was Sherbeck Field and providing facilities. And I want to clear up one other thing. Fullerton College is visionary, especially when it comes to the women's programs. We are the only community college that has lacrosse, but I don't believe that we'll be the last. I think people will follow us yet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Board of Trustees. My name is Naveen Kanal. I'm a graduate of Fullerton College. I'm also a current student. I'm the women's golf coach, and I'm a member of the adjunct faculty, and I hope one day to be a member of the full-time faculty. I really appreciate what was said tonight. I give a lot of thought to this. I've lived near stadiums when I went to undergraduate and grad school, and I think the one advantage we have at Fullerton College is that we have the facilities to mitigate the parking. That's what I'd really like to focus on. So if I may address these comments to the Board of Trustees, but they're really to President Schultz. We currently restrict parking on a Saturday to charge at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I know football games majority of them will start at 1 o'clock or earlier. And if that's the case, if you can assure not only the board, but most importantly the neighborhood, that we will provide parking at no charge. And I'm really impressed that we did that research that was not in the original EIR and the number of parking spaces, because that's critical. That will mitigate not only the traffic, because we can restrict the entrance to the west side of campus. We can also ensure the neighborhood that there will be no parking in their neighborhood, because we provide more than enough parking. And if people aren't parking in the neighborhood, for someone who lived for 22 years near a stadium, the trash is mitigated because there are no cars to be there. So I think that's really the crux of what I'm asking. And if we cannot give parking, then even as a member of Fullerton College, then I urge you not to vote for this. But if we can ensure the parking, because most people will drive to the games, then I think it's incumbent upon this board, to all our trustees, our students, our faculty, our administration, and most importantly, our neighborhood, to build this community around this football team. Because I went to school here, and I didn't go to a football game, and I hated that. And then when I went to grad school and undergrad, I went to every home football game, and I brought my friends, and I made a bigger community because of it. We have that opportunity today, and it's going to require a great deal of collaboration. We teach it, I've studied it, we have an opportunity now to use it. Collaborate with our neighbors, listen to what they're asking, meet them halfway, let's find the common ground, and let's go Hornets.
I'll just repeat the comment I made before. The college has committed to the on-campus parking being free during the athletic events. In the same way that the parking at this facility is free when we have board meetings, the same way it will be free on Fullerton College campus when they have the athletic events. All right, that's actually the end of the yellow cards I got. Yes, sir.
I signed in, I couldn't figure out where we were supposed to sign in.
Where's my card?
I did want to say something on
You spoke during the public comment the first time.
this. I did, but
About the
I
project.
spoke quite quickly. And I
Did
wanted
you
to
speak about
specifically on
this
the
project?
Yeah, you already spoke about it.
Yeah,
And
that's what I thought. You only get one time. You only get one time to speak about any project.
Other people spoke
You
twice.
get one chance for something on the agenda, you can speak a second time for something not on the agenda. But if you've already spoken about this agenda item, that's your point.
Well, I only came
Sorry,
out-
that was announced at the beginning of the meeting, so thank you very
I
much.
work, and I work an hour away from here, and there was 2 accidents on the way here, so thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I filled out a card, I don't know, she told me to put 4 something as an item number.
What was your name then?
Sean Diamond. I just want to make sure I have a chance to speak, if this is the only chance I would like to have it.
Right, okay, I drew on this card and somehow I've already gone through it, so do you wish to speak now?
Okay.
Okay.
Is it about the field?
Sorry?
Are you speaking about the field?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect, that's it. I'll just say I've been juggling a lot of cards with you.
I have to wear my glasses. So before you start my time, can I just
I gotta
ask?
start your time right now. You want to say your name?
No, she'd like you to wait so she could ask a question.
Because you guys brought something up that I myself, and I don't know about the rest of our neighbors, haven't heard about, was the parking. You changed that parking thing, and that's kind of instrumental. So,
Are you asking, will the parking be free on campus during athletic
I mean,
events? Yes,
you
the
guys
college
changed
has
it
said
and you didn't tell us, and so my
Actually,
question, okay,
that has
I'm
been said.
shocked.
Okay, that has been said, I know in communications I've
I
had.
have, I haven't heard about it, but, okay, so,
fine.
thank you. Okay.
For a third time, that is a commitment the college has made.
We're starting
And it's not in the EIR.
I just wanted to ask you about the parking situation, since that seems to be the biggest deal for me as a neighbor on Princeton Circle West, is our streets are so narrow that by having people parking there, you can only have one car traveling if you have cars parked on both sides. It's a safety issue. So, if you guys would be kind enough to even, I've already talked to you about this, but to consider having free parking during school hours, gosh, golly, wouldn't that help us with our safety issues in our neighborhood? That's not what I was gonna speak about, but that's from my heart. So, I wanted to piggyback on Assemblywoman Sharon Court Silva's letter that you might not have been listening to us because you don't speak with us. Case in point. I haven't heard about any of your EIR parking, conclusions, trying to rectify the problem, but I'd like to hear that. It's awesome. One thing that nobody's brought up tonight, I have brought it up, and I can't even remember how many meetings we've been here, to hear speaking for years on diminishing property values. I believe that my house value will go down about 15%. That'd be about $120,000 if I were to sell my home. It's a possibility loan. Okay. I want you guys to please be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. I find the comment of a lady who was back here very, very offensive, saying that, I believe what she was alluding to is that we would not want a certain type of element coming into our neighborhood. I find that very offensive.
Yep.
My brother is black, he's a football player, was. So, I mean, if he can't come into my neighborhood, really? Bond Measure X passed without mention of a stadium. The stadium was not even included in the EIR. So, please, I just ask you, I know my time's limited, that you just do the best thing with the taxpayers' money, and I don't believe it's the stadium.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
One last call for Philip Austin. Is Mr. Austin available? No. Okay. Then that is the end of the comments, the cards we have. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the public hearing is closed. We will move ahead to the 3 items on the agenda dealing with Sherbeck Field. First one is item 3A. This is to adopt resolution 19/20-11 to render immunity and exemption of Sherbeck Field Improvements Project from the City of Fullerton zoning ordinances and general plan. This is a continuation on January 27, 2004. The district took this action regarding the real property of Fullerton College in general. At that point, Sherbeck Field was not specifically mentioned because it wasn't something that was anticipated. So this is extending and just reiterating our intention that Sherbeck Field would be exempt from the City of Fullerton zoning ordinances and general plan as the Government Code Section 53094 allows. So do we have a motion?
Please discuss before a motion. Will the board not, in a public forum, discuss?
Excuse me.
Move
Excuse
approval.
me. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion by the board. Do you have questions? Discussion about this?
So just to clarify, this is just a procedure in terms of updating current.
In essence, yes, the 2004 was a resolution to exempt Fullerton College property from the City of Fullerton zoning and general plan. This specifically deals with the Sherbeck Field.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. So I did ask about this last time. I asked about it a couple of times actually as to whether we have a legal opinion on this. I still have not seen it. Basically, we're being asked to certify a legal position here concerning, whether this field, concerning the exemption from the city zoning requirements. I'm a little uncomfortable myself certifying that and not having really seen it either. So I might have to abstain.
Paul, would you want to say something?
Well, I would just like to say, some of you don't realize that institutions like Cal State Fullerton and Fullerton College go through hoops at the state level. We have the DSA, which looks at all of our plans in terms of people with disabilities and construction. And I read the probably tell you what their checklist is. We pay to. They're like the local planning commission, they're like the local city council, and the general plan. So we really do go through a planning process, but it isn't that obvious to you like your own city council. So I think, and I had assumed, and I still do, that it is settled in law.
Any other comments, questions?
So
So in preparation for tonight, I did pull up the Santa Cruz School Board of Education, which was a previous court case that went all the way to the California Supreme Court. And I will quote from that case that Memorial Field serve as an important educational purpose and is directly used for student instruction. And the Supreme Court said that sports and dramas are integral and vital parts of the educational program. So I think based on those two statements, that we are on firm legal grounds to support this.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, this is an unusual situation in that this resolution requires a 2/3 vote for approval rather than a simple majority, so it will require 5 votes in favor to adopt it. Are we ready to vote? All right. All in favor, we indicate, well, I'll say that, but why don't we do this by a roll call, just so that we know for sure.
Trustee Beck?
Aye.
Trustee Blount?
No.
Trustee Burke, you want to go last?
No, well, yeah, sure, why not? Take the president's prerogative.
Trustee Benji?
Yes.
Trustee Lopez?
Abstain.
Trustee Morsanihan?
Yes.
Trustee Duarte?
Yes.
Student trustee Clapton? Abstain. Yes. Trustee Brown?
And I will vote yes. On my count, that is 5 in favor, and the resolution is adopted. B, this is to approve and certify the final environmental impact report. This deals specifically with the environmental impact report, not with the project that the environmental impact report is dealing with. So adopting and certifying the EIR itself is saying 3 things. 1, that the EIR was completed in compliance with the CEQA requirements. 2, that the EIR was presented to the board and the board reviewed and considered the information in it. And 3, that the EIR reflects the district's independent judgment and analysis. So this is to approve and certify the EIR itself, again, not taking a position on the project that the EIR is dealing with. So do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, discussion.
I just wanted to say something.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank everybody involved in this. The EIRs are a very big deal, and there was a lot of community outreach, I believe, for this project. I want to thank President Schultz for his leadership throughout this process. And I mean, this is I've heard a lot of EIRs, been involved with a lot of city stuff for a long time, and I think this is very thorough and very well done. I really appreciate all the countless hours that went into it to show all different perspectives and get good feedback from the community. So, thank you.
Further discussion, questions? All right, first I'm ready for a vote, and this requires just a simple majority. Roll call again, please.
Trustee Beck?
Aye.
Trustee Blount?
No.
Trustee Benji?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez?
Aye.
Trustee McClanahan?
Yes.
Trustee Rodarte?
Yes.
Student trustee Clapton?
Yes.
Student trustee Reyes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. On my count, that is 6 yes, in addition to the 2 advisory votes yes, and 1 no. So the motion passes. The resolution 19/2010 is adopted. Item 3C. This is to adopt resolution 19/20-12. To approve and adopt the Sherbeck Field improvements project mitigation
Mr. President.
monitoring and reporting program and related CEQA findings, and to approve and adopt the Sherbeck Field improvements project. Do we have a motion for this?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded.
We heard, sir, I believe there was an irregularity with regards to 3A, required a 2/3 vote, and you said it passed at the majority level. So I'd ask that you inform council with regards to 3A. That resolution requires a 2/3 passage rate.
Correct. The 2/3 vote of this board is a 5-member vote.
Right.
There was 5 votes in favor, 1 abstention.
Like you said, that last one was that 2/3, needed to be 2/3.
Last one
No, just
doesn't need to be, but it still had.
Okay, yeah, that's what, thank you very much for that.
There's 3A passed with the 2/3 required, 3B passed with the majority vote required. Right.
Point of clarification,
Yes, sir.
perhaps you can help the gentleman by explaining the advisory vote of the student trustees.
Oh, the advisory votes, student trustees, advisory votes are not counted in the vote totals. So it is a 2/3 vote or a majority vote of the elected trustees. Okay, so 3C, we had motion seconds, is that right? Okay, now we're on to discussion questions. Board members, anybody want to?
What are they voting on now?
I really want to thank everyone who has participated in this rather long, lengthy process over several years. Some of you are getting tired, I know.
We'll keep fighting.
I have read all of your letters that have come to me either by email or in the regular mail. And I pay attention to the concerns. I think there are a lot of concerns that deal with the community college within a residential setting. And those are issues that are almost outside of the issue before us this evening. But that does not release us from dealing with them and communicating about them and seeing how we can make some of those things better. I want to share with you from Exhibit B, we've had, this came out of the EIR, some of the mitigation and monitoring requirements for the proposed project. And these are not optional, they are not revocable, they are part and parcel of the decision. Some of you may be already aware of these measures, but all of you lead busy lives and may not have been aware of some of these mitigation measures. I'm just going to share 8 of them with you, and some of them were mentioned. Fullerton College will implement a lighting curfew similar to other parks and recreation and public facilities in the city of Fullerton. The only exceptions will be during the week, Monday through Thursday, when Fullerton College classes are in session on the field. And that is the low level of lighting that somebody asked about. Second, field lighting shall not be used for any outside groups at any time on Saturday or Sunday. 3, no Fullerton College football games shall be played on Friday evening. 4, no high school football games shall be played at Sherbeck Field. 5, field lighting shall not be used for any outside group at any time on Saturday or Sunday. 6, no field rentals for the purpose of musical performances or concerts by outside groups or individuals will be permitted. 7, the public address system is only for use by Fullerton College. Outside groups using the field are prohibited from using any public address or sound amplification system. 8, the district shall implement a traffic management plan at applicable intersections. And those are the ones that those of you know about who live in the neighborhood. The plan shall be implemented in coordination with the city of Fullerton and requires approval by the city traffic engineer and shall include as necessary the placement of police department staff or staff with equivalent training to manage traffic flow. And the district will be responsible for the cost of services that we receive, whether they're our own or from the city's police department. I want to make some additional comments about the term student athlete. And that is important because one who competes in any sport is first and foremost a student. Intercollegiate sports require participants to take at least 12 units and maintain a C or better grade point average. If not, they are disqualified to play. And my understanding from talking to Anita Ward is that most student athletes are at 3.0 grade point average. That's a B. I want to share with you a quote by Joe Restick, who during 23 years as football coach at Harvard was at his retirement the winningest football coach in Harvard history. And this is what he said. Success is not what the players on my team do on the field, but what they are doing 5 years after they leave here. If I can have an impact in helping them along, that is what means the most to me. That is also our aim for both men and women who play sports and also carry an academic load. I want to address our neighbors to the east and how you invite the community into your neighborhood during the holidays to enjoy the magical lighted streets for about 3 weeks. I don't know how long it is, but it seems like it's about 3 weeks. And come we do. You let us invade your neighborhood, bringing friends and visitors. And I want to thank you for that. We need to celebrate that we are a college and a university town. And I would guess if you talk to people who were in the real estate business and do evaluations of property values, this asset is really reflected in our property value. The Fine Arts Division at Fullerton College lists its calendar of events with an affirmation. Imagine this: a city that celebrates the arts every day, theater arts, music, the art gallery. I suggest that we expand that to hear an occasional guest lecture, like when we had Richard Liu, who wrote Last Child in the Woods. We have a rich community here of things that we do outside of athletics, and we need to embrace all of that. So we need to hear an occasional guest lecture, to have an open house and a walking tour on our campus to appreciate Fullerton College's historic architecture, to hear faculty whose sabbatical reports are an inspiration, and to watch a game, water polo, basketball, football, soccer, a sled meet, and to patronize the horticulture plant sales. We can create a richer fabric that honors and celebrates all of us. And I think that is a challenge that we need to pick up and run with, not 2 years from now, but now. And after we vote on this motion, I would like to do a second motion for an alternative plan that reduces seating to 2,000 seats. With directions to have that come back to the board, hopefully on November 26th, with the necessary findings of fact that will be needed for that alternative.
Second.
And it's not a motion.
It's not. No, it's not a motion, and that actually be put as at the end when you talk about future things. Other
that does raise an important question, though, because you know, the EIR did address both of the concerns, and I wonder if the staff, the legal counsel or DUDEC or someone could explain for the benefit of the board and the public as to why this other option is not before us.
Yes.
I can take a shot at that. Then Stephen T. has anything he wants to add, to do that. To be able to vote on an option, we need to have the findings of fact and the mitigation of the plan all available at the same time. What we have now is just those documents dealing with the full 4,400 seat project. So to be able to consider a reduced capacity option, we would need to have those other documents prepared and ready so that we could adopt them all at the same time, as the agenda item here is dealing with all three of those for the full capacity. So we would have to have those prepared and available to us before we could vote on it.
That's not accurate.
So,
Just see if you want to
Sure.
get that wrong.
I know Trustee Brown, a couple things. Again, Steve T. Gatsky, Deloitte Balance. Number one, staff and the consultant team was not directed to bring back the reduced project alternative for approval tonight. So that was not something that was asked of the consulting team, and therefore the documents are not in front. The approval documents for a reduced project alternative, the 2,000 seat option, are not before the board tonight. If so directed, that can be done. And it certainly, if the decision is made and the direction is given to bring back the reduced project alternative for consideration at the next meeting, I see no reason why that cannot be accomplished.
But is I correct that we could not, for instance, decide to adopt the reduced project alternative tonight without having the secret findings and the mitigation plans available to us so that we can do those all as a package?
You have to make findings and to adopt an MMRP for the reduced project alternative. And there are differences between what those findings for the reduced project alternative, what those would look like as compared to the proposed project. And there are also some subtle differences on the MMRP that would be require some revisions to the MMRP that would be presented for approval. So that is correct. And yes, the board does need to adopt findings and an MMRP in order to ultimately approve the project. That's why those are all packaged up in one resolution tonight.
Could they vote to continue? Would that be in their purview?
Excuse me?
I'll respond to Trustee Brown if you have any further questions.
Just to continue what you said, and I guess maybe what Trustee Lopez might also be asking, regardless of what we do on this item tonight, whether we approve it or not, that would not preclude considering the reduced project alternative at the next meeting, right? We could, as an example, adopt the full capacity one tonight. 2 weeks from now, decide to adopt the reduced capacity one as a substitution for this. There would be no legal problem with that, is that correct?
I've never seen that done. Trustee Brown. That's something
I understand that, but
that's something new. I was thinking more, what my mind was going to is a scenario where board declines to approve the proposed project tonight. And in that instance,
that would be one option.
Then there's nothing that would prevent the staff coming back, the college coming back with the reduced project alternative at the next meeting.
We would give you our
I'm
blessing.
asking, would there be a legal problem with the other scenario in which this is approved tonight and then there was still a desire to consider reduced capacity?
I honestly, I think off the top of my head, I'm not prepared to provide an answer to that question. I've not seen that attempted before, and I'm not suggesting that's not a possible or viable option, but I don't want to get too far out in front on that because that is an unusual scenario. I mean, it's unusual enough that I've not seen it happen, so I don't want to give an opinion on the spot on something like that. That'd be my response right now.
Need to be the trailblazers.
Possibly.
Just a little bit. You have
Well, thank you for that explanation. I know a number of members of the public have this question about whether we just consider it one option, so I appreciate that explanation. It would be nice if we did have an answer to the question of whether we could consider the scaled down version next time, but I take it the plan then is that if this is voted down tonight, then next time we would consider the scaled down version. Would that be a correct assumption?
I think the board would need to decide whether they wanted to do that. We could certainly give direction to have those appropriate documents ready to
Please.
consider that.
And if it's approved tonight, then along the lines of what you were suggesting, we could also decide to do the same, to consider the scale.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Council doesn't have to pay.
All right, thank you.
Since I'm up here,
Yes.
Trustee Brown, if I could, this is really an area for Ms. Strulia to address, but since I'm standing up here, I might as well. There were some questions and comments earlier about parking, and I know you in particular had notified and advised some of the members of the public who provided testimony that parking will be free during Saturday football events. And I just wanted to confirm that the project description in the EIR explicitly states that. So there should be no surprise for anybody who's actually read the draft EIR or the final EIR. And it is very clear, and it provides that parking is free. Just wanted to make that clear for the record. Thank you.
Other comments?
I just wanted to point out that also the district has recommended that the reduced project alternative is not being advised at this time. And that's on our Exhibit A, page 66, area 5.2, conclusions or findings. So that's why I moved this motion as it was. Thank you.
So is there any guarantee we'll consider a reduced seating? I mean, my inclination is to table it and take it up.
Please. It would satisfy everyone.
So that would be the last on the agenda, right?
Yes, it would.
The most prudent course of action.
Nancy's question, no, there's no guarantee the board could give that direction.
Right, so that's why I'm in favor of tabling it so we can all do it at once. 4,400 and 2,000 or 2,200 at one time on the same agenda item.
If you're just making a comment, that's fine. If you're trying to offer a substitute motion, I'm going to rule that out of order because it's, I don't think it really achieves what we're trying to do.
Molly, please. Please put
does
that
not
forward.
mean that it cannot be considered, as you're saying, at the next meeting. And if you're making that comment, I welcome that comment. If you were trying to make that a formal motion, I would rule that out.
No, I'm just looking for
Just make your comment.
parking issue. I'm looking for a guarantee, verbal evidence, or otherwise, that the reduced seating will be taken up in the next board meeting.
Okay, Joe, let me ask you a question. Item 7B is future board agenda items.
Yes.
Would that be the appropriate place to make the motion that we bring back the alternative plan that reduces the seating to 2,000 seats with directions that come back to the board on November 26th with the necessary findings?
I think that would be the point to bring that up, and it would not require a motion if the consensus of the board was to give that direction that that be done at that point. I don't think it would require a motion to.
And if it comes, I'm almost thinking that we ought to take that one up first. And if we table the one that is before us tonight, that comes second. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you, Molly.
So, we don't, if this is either passed or tabled, if we bring something up in 2 weeks, do we have to have a public hearing at that time?
Turn your teeth out.
We won't say a thing if we get 2,000 seats.
What are you asking would be brought forward? Sorry, Trustee Dunshee, what is it that you were suggesting?
Would we have to have another public hearing?
If what, under what circumstances?
If we bring forward a reduced scope of project?
I think the answer is no. You're not required to have a public hearing in the first instance, and CEQA does not obligate you to have a public hearing. With that said, CEQA favors public input as a general principle, and that's why we've held public meetings and public hearings here so far, to ensure that members of the public have an opportunity to voice their concerns and opinions. And so it would seem to be good practice if you're going to consider a different project, a different alternative, to give members of the public an opportunity, because we would be presenting a new resolution that would address adoption of a different MMRP than the one that's in the current package, and it would also include adoption of a different set of findings, which is, well, it's a 100-page document, and so there's a substantial amount of information there. And there are differences between the proposed project and the reduced project. So I think my current advice would be to err on the side of conservative side and allow members of the public to provide testimony if you're going to present, if we're going to have the college present yet a different project. And I know that's not an answer that anybody wants to hear.
We've gone on 4 hours.
Well, we're not public comments one way or the other, so we could have a public hearing and have fun.
We had an hour and 45 minutes last week.
We have the rest of our lives.
I think we've done due diligence to listening. And I appreciate the comments, but I mean, at a certain point, it seems you have to draw a line. I think you have more than patient.
So the motion before us, because I know there was a substitute motion, we're ignoring that. Got it. So right now we are comment. Okay. Right now we are voting on whether or not we want to approve the current seating.
Right, the full project
As presented.
right, as the EIR as findings, the litigation. Okay. Are we ready for the vote? Right. We will do it by roll call, and I would invite trustees, if you want to make a statement about your vote. I don't think that would be right. Help.
I'll just very briefly say that I appreciate that Molly read all those policies that are kind of coming with this, because I think that that's a reflection of really everybody in this room who's given inputs from all sides of the equation, as well as the EIR process and the hundreds of community members that contributed to that, and Dr. Schultz as well for meeting with the community. And I think a lot of that has been brought in by suggestions from the community, and to try to find a middle ground as best as it can be. So I'm an eye on this project, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, my only comment is I'd be in favor of 2,200, but I don't know, I don't have assurances that we're even going to consider that. So
Yes.
we know on this agenda.
I will vote A on this project, and I would also support a reduced scope of 2,000 seats. I did want to bring up a couple points. The district has balanced, what we're being asked to do is to balance between two issues, benefits versus the environmental impacts. And there were really only 3 environmental impacts with substantial findings, and that had to do with noise, and it had to do with traffic at 3 of 31 different intersections were only impacted 3 of those. and then it had impact on recreational use. And what's currently happening is that we are playing football games 8 miles away from where we currently have. And this environmental impact report does not take into account any reducing of noise or traffic or recreational uses where it's currently being played. Nor would it take into account the alternative option of playing at Fullerton High School, which is less than a mile away. So I think the net gain from our district, or Belinda's in this district as much as Fullerton is that you're subtracting environmental impact in one section of the district to put it into another section of the district. I'd like to say, and this is just a true confession, I'm not a big football fan. And I just am not. I don't know why, I didn't get that football team. And so it's not out of a love of football or support for the football. I mean, I will support the football program, but to me, the crucial aspect of this project is the need for the other educational classrooms that happen in the evening, which cannot be accommodated currently at Fullerton High School. And that is, as we heard the speakers from the track people, from the other soccer people, that from just regular physical education classrooms, and that to me was the deciding issue in my vote.
I'm going to vote no in the expectation that we will consider the scale down.
I will vote yes, but I know her my, you already heard her my willingness, so I will change horses in the middle of the street, so you have to worry about it. I think it's important to realize that the average age of the student at Fullerton College is 26, am I right? I don't know, you know, you read so much stuff but we are dealing with people who already have jobs, who have families, who have so many other obligations that the classes that Barbara mentioned, I think are really an important aspect. And so I will vote yes on this one. You know where I'm going.
So first I want to thank everyone who's been attending meetings, sending correspondences via email or actual mail throughout my thought process, and pretty much the reason why I decided to join this board almost 4 years ago was to improve the student experience. Being a first gen myself, I understood that there are definitely hurdles when transitioning from high school to college. And what I was looking at throughout this EIR process was the educational opportunities being provided to students, and more specifically looking at course offerings that can come about with a field. I am going to vote, however, no for what is being presented. I just don't think it's appropriate considering the educational classes that are going to be provided. If presented with a future item, I would be open to that conversation.
I want to thank every single person that came and presented. I know it's been very difficult for a majority of you. There are split decisions, both opposing and for it. It has taken me, after studying and after work and everything, I have been reviewing and everything. So it's been hard on me as well. But my vote is going to be no, but I am open to hearing other agenda. I'm very supportive of the improvements to this field. I think it'll be incredibly beneficial to our students. Going into a community college, a JC, there's a separation in student community, especially when you come in for the first time. It's not like going into a 4-year private university, public university, where you have that certain like immediate pride to be at a JC. Like, we can't ignore that. And I think that having this home base for the football team will eliminate parts of that, having more school spirit. But for this, I'm going to vote no, just for the possibility of reduced seating size, just to give more of a platform for the community and the students as well.
I've told a number of people over the past year or so that I thought the reduced capacity option was probably more justifiable than the 4,400 seats. One reason for that was because, well, I'd identified the noise and the lighting as being probably two critical impacts. Now, the ER analysis showed that the lighting is not an impact, that the people who have worried about that in their homes, the experts who have looked at the lighting have said it doesn't matter which option you look at, even for the full capacity, the lighting will have little or no glare anywhere outside the field. So that ends up not being an impact. The noise, if you look at the details of the noise analysis, the crowd size has a less, it's not a very important part of the noise from either project size. It's the public address system that is really controlling what the noise impact is. So whether you have 4,400 people or 2,000 people, it doesn't make very much difference as far as the noise effects. I think that the 2,000 seat is probably a better option, but I think that either option is better than no option. So I'm going to vote yes for this to ensure that there is a project, and I'm going to hope that we then take up consideration of the reduced capacity and see if that ends up being really what the board wants to do. But as I said, I'm voting yes to be sure that this passes, because either option, I believe, is better for the college and for the city and for the current students and future students. Either option is better than no option.
4-3 with 2 no's as advisory vote, so the motion passes.
Motion passes. Okay, now we're going to our second public hearing. Agenda items B, E, and F deal with contract negotiation proposals from United Faculty,